This should just be a quick video looking at right hand form for Clawhammer Banjo. So I'm going to try something a little bit different where I'm going to play you something and then I'm going to show you it in slow motion, and I'm going to kind of talk over it as we watch it in slow motion, and hopefully people who are just learning how to play Clawhammer can get a bit of something from it, because hopefully I'll be demonstrating correct right hand form. And you should see how it's kind of supposed to be done, hypothetically, right? Let's see how well this goes. So what I'm going to be playing is a little bit of a cello suite. So this piece of music was originally played for cello, written by some bloke, I believe, called John Bach, something like that. No idea. Don't need to learn how to pronounce his name properly. From what I've read, he's been dead for quite some time, so frankly, who cares? Anyway, so I'm learning this at the moment. It's quite tricky. So I've only learnt a bit of it. It's quite long as well, and it's not like a folk tune where it's highly repetitive. Every bar is different. Damn you, classical musicians, right? But it's a cool tune. Everyone knows it. It's really famous, and it's fun to play once we learn how to play it. So I'll play a little bit now. We'll watch it back in slow motion, just looking at the right hand, and then we'll talk about good form, bad form, etc. Right? So get this camera looking. Right, yeah, it fell apart. It fell apart a few times actually. There's a bit of sloppiness in there. Oops. As I said, I've not been learning it long. It is quite tricky. But the point is, look, I don't need to show you me playing perfectly to show how I'm approaching something generally and what my right hand is doing. So hopefully this will be helpful. Let's come back in a second, and you'll just hear my voice as we watch the video. See you in a bit. Let's just go through it bit by bit. And I'll try to just observe things as we go through. It's on about 70% of the normal speed. Any slower than that, and the kind of image kind of breaks up. So this should do. Hopefully, right. This is what I'm hoping to see. My hand should just come down and up and down and up. That should be the only motion that's happening, right? There's no like down pluck and then move back up. My thumb should always land. I'm pretty sure I'm good with that. That's a thing I tell all my students, and I think is very important. And in fact, you'll see all the best clawhammer players do that. Thumb always lands, whether you're going to pluck or not. Let's just watch it, right? Yep. Good. So look, thumb always lands, always comes up. Yeah. So the few phrases I've done so far, right? We're not firing it well. So yeah, let's go back to the start actually. Yeah, so it starts with a hammer on, and you'll notice, right, in a way, like technically my hand doesn't have to come up again to do that hammer on because I'm not plucking, but it does have to go up actually because it needs to come back down again in a second, right? So even when you're doing a hammer on, that thumb needs to come up. In fact, I say your thumb needs to come up. Your entire hand needs to lift up, and your thumb lifts off of whatever string it's landed on previously, even though you're not plucking. So whether you're plucking or not, that thumb needs to come off. I just, taking this in excruciating detail because this is a common mistake that people make, where if they're not going to pluck for whatever reason, maybe it's like a rest stroke or they're doing a hammer on, their thumb will not come off the string. And it means the next downstroke, where your hand's not in position to do a downstroke, so they just do like a finger motion. This hand, the right hand, or left hand if you're left-handed, right? The clawhammer hand is in perpetual down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. That's all it ever does. Like there are very, very, very rare situations where you want your thumb to linger to do a pull-off for whatever reason, but it's super rare, and that only happens in very niche situations, right? So your default is what you're seeing. Also watch like my right hand with the downstrokes, right? It stays in position. My fingers aren't opening. Let's hit play again. See that? Like my fingers aren't moving. You'll see the motion is from the arm. Let's go back to the start again. There's not much of an arm movement, but there is an arm movement, and that is super important. The motion is from your arm, not from your wrist, and not from your fingers. Lift your arm, let it fall through the strings, or in this case, a string. It's difficult, right? The reason I'm using this tune to demonstrate is because there's so much single note strikes and so much drop thumb, loads of hammer-ons, and it's quite hard. It's quite demanding, even though it doesn't sound super complicated. But you'll notice that basically the form doesn't make a difference really what you're playing, like your form and your hand position and how you're hitting the strings is basically always going to be the same. So sorry, let's just hit play and I'll watch it all the way through and think of anything else I need to comment on this. Yeah, and that's like the extent to which I've learned this tune. Anyway, yeah, one thing I guess I would say, right, is it's hard to pick apart everything that I'm doing correctly, right? But it's valuable if you're, a banjo player. Try to record your right hand and watch it back, and it should. Everyone's hand's a bit different, right? And everyone's technique will therefore be slightly different, but it should, generally speaking, look like my playing did just there. You might not be playing something quite as complicated as that. It might not even be single note stuff. You might just be hitting chords. It doesn't really matter. The general rules are, right? Motion is from your arm. Your arm is relaxed. Your wrist is relaxed, but you're not powered from the wrist, right? So the wrist will have a bit of flex, but you're not powered by the wrist. So everything you just saw in that slow motion video, right? The clawhammer hand is in just this shape. But you're not tensed in that shape, right? You're not moving from your fingers either. It's just in this relaxed, natural position. It should be the natural position that your right hand takes when you're not tensing it or holding it in any specific position. And then the motion is down, up, down, up. Thumb should always land, and you should always go down, up, down, up. There's no extra motion in there. There's no like down, down, pluck, up again. That's now 3 motions. That's just wasted energy. Down, up, down, up. If you're plucking, you pluck up. If you're not plucking, you still need to come off the string. That thumb still needs to come off the string. As I said before, thumb always needs to land. I'm very repetitive, I know, but it does bear repeating. It's very useful. No finger motion. That is super important. People will do the finger movement in an attempt to be accurate. Don't do it. Please do not do that. You don't want to try to be too accurate at this point. You just need to hit the strings. And you can see from this, which is quite a complicated tune, that you simply do not need to do that. You can play a tricky tune, and we'll watch it a little bit one last time. You can play a tricky tune. Well, I can barely play a tricky tune. I'm getting through it. I'm getting there. But you can play a tricky tune with these bigger arm motions without moving your wrist, without moving your fingers. And this is like proper form, right? So I'll just put it back briefly. We'll just watch a little bit from the start again. Yeah, so I mean, every even like 4 or 5 note phrase uses all of the strings. So I'm across all of the strings pretty much perpetually with this tune, which is what makes it such a tricky tune. It's a bit tricky in the left hand as well because you're kind of up the neck in places that you're not necessarily always going to be. But the right hand trickiness comes from the fact that you just cross the strings all the time. So maybe go back, watch my playing in slow motion again. But the big takeaway I want you to take away from this is simply maybe record your own playing, your own right hand or your left hand. That's a slightly different thing. Maybe I'll do a video on that at some point. But record your right hand. Your phone will probably, or maybe have like a slow motion setting on it. I find they're not always that good because they need tons of lighting and they end up really dark for whatever reason. Or just webcam and then slow it down in some program. Or even if you don't slow it down, you don't need to slow it down to look at your right hand. Or just do it in front of a mirror. That can also be really helpful. But it's just really useful for you to see how I'm doing it and for you to go away and think, do I kind of look like I'm doing a similar thing? What could I do to look a bit more like that? You can do it visually. You can get a sense for how you're playing visually. That's a great thing. There's a lot about Clawhammer Banjo which is really unintuitive and a bit difficult. But what is really helpful is I can just look at someone's playing without hearing them, and I know, generally speaking, whether they're playing correctly or not. So you can go by visual cues a lot. You can just mimic what I'm doing. It's a good tip, actually. Maybe I should have said that earlier. mimic what I'm doing. When you see what I'm doing, mimic it visually without worrying if you sound the same as me. Just go by what you're seeing and what you're seeing with your own hand. That's probably a good place to end it. This ended up longer than I thought it would be. Hopefully it's helpful. I'll see you around. Good luck practicing.